Hi everyone, Shirtlad here. In the 2008 PSP port of the arcade game Kidou Senshi Gundam Senjou no Kizuna, you get a total of 48 units to play with. 54 if you count bases within mission and original rule modes. In the absence of proper EN guides for this game's roster, I thought, why not cover a few, starting with the Zaku Cannon. The Zaku Cannon is a 160 point cost mid-range support unit, as well as one of the first units you get to unlock when playing as the Principality of Zeon. It comes with 265 points of armor, or HP if you prefer, sharing both its HP and cost values with the Zaku F2. To get it, simply play a few games with the Zaku 2 F-type that you start with, and depending how well you do, you will have an Egg guy unlock within 3 to 5 rounds. After that, you just have to play a single round with the Egg guy, earning you the Zaku Cannon. By default, this machine comes with 3 weapons: the 180mm Cannon A, the Zaku machine gun, and a pair of fists. Starting from the first weapon slot, the 180mm Cannon A is fairly simple to use, sporting quick reload speed, shorter than average minimum range of 150 meters, and a combination of both good stopping power and decent damage, assuming you hit multiple shots. The weapon can hold 3 rounds at a time, reloads perpetually, and fires all of its loaded rounds when the trigger is pulled. It's slightly less spammable than the default cannon used by the RGC-80 Jump Cannon, but it makes up for it in the amount of consecutive shots it can put out. Honestly, the only downsides here are the generally low damage values per shot, and the animation length for longer bursts, which will keep you in place until it finishes. Alternatively, you can swap it out for a 180mm Cannon B, which sports a somewhat slower reload, the same capacity of 3 rounds, and less damage per shot. On the upside, these are cluster shots and as such come with a much wider blast radius, allowing you to hit multiple enemies with raining shrapnel. Ideal for support, but not as good for single target damage. For your second weapon slot, you start with the standard 120mm Zaku machine gun. It comes with 30 rounds of ammo, shooting in bursts of 3, and generally serving as a decent suppression tool. The damage is much lower than its primary counterparts, but for a more auxiliary weapon role this will more than suffice. If you'd like a more explosive alternative, the twin rocket launchers, simply called the big guns, are another option. In terms of utility, it is very much an acquired taste, with the weapon's firing trajectory being similar to the foot missiles on the Zaku 2F and the stern force carried by the Zaku F2, as well as the dome trope in Sand Brown. The rockets curve up a bit and then fly at whatever unfortunate sod you are locked onto. Each projectile is a guaranteed knockdown on hit and deals decent damage, but the trajectory and the optimal firing range is something you have to get used to. You get 4 rockets, although each shot consumes 2 at a time. There's also the option to equip anti-base rounds. Well, you only get 1. Nonetheless, with solid damage and a swift reload, these offer a nifty way to support your long-range artillery's damage output, or the means to chip away at the base's HP in the absence of one. That being said, unlike standard rounds, these lack proper aim correction, making them less reliable at hitting enemy units on the move. The last secondary weapon the Zaku Cannon has is the high explosive payload. Just like with the anti-base rounds, you only get 1 per reload, but the reload itself doesn't take too long either. Similarly to the 180mm Cannon B, this round has good splash radius, but unlike the former, it hits much harder and detonates on impact. In the weapon slot number 3, you have your trusty Knuckles. They get the job done 1 2-hit combo at a time, but overall it's not the best idea to engage up close with this unit. I doubt I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the Universal Tackle, since that comes standard with pretty much everything except for bases. In terms of configurations or setting parts, the Zaku Cannon has 4 mobility and armor settings each, allowing it to trade armor points or HP for an increase in mobility and vice versa. If you'd like to adjust those exactly to your liking, there's also 3 EX settings parts which can be configured in the Customize tab. Overall, the MSO6K Zaku Cannon is a mid-range support unit that benefits from staying somewhat close to the action, given how short the minimum range for its main weapon is. Just like other units whose main armament is a cannon, you will likely somewhat struggle against targets that move laterally too much, unless you catch them in the middle of an animation or anticipate a good time to open fire. While both cannon variants are rather forgiving, considering the reload speeds, you can get the most of them when coordinating with your teammates. The movement speed for this one isn't too shabby either, and depending on your weapon choices, the unit can be played as a close mid-range support with the machine gun secondary, spec into mid-ranged offense with the big gun, or fully commit to the role of frontline bombardment and anti-base support using the additional payloads in the secondary slot. In terms of overall damage output, the Zaku Cannon lands below average in its category, which is understandable since it is the cheapest unit there, but in my opinion, the more spammable cannon shots give you ample opportunities to make up for it. As for the weapon and config parts unlocks themselves, you will gradually obtain them as you score points during matches. The weapons will be unlocked in the order of 180mm Cannon B, big gun, anti-base rounds, and the high explosive rounds, with the config part sprinkled in between. Grindy as it may seem, each round you complete also moves you closer to unlocking the Dom, the Zaku Tank, the Zaku, and the Dom Cannon twin gun type, which are all interesting units in their own right. Regardless, this has been my attempt at a more in-depth look at the Zaku Cannon, as it appears in Senjou no Kizuna Portable. If you enjoyed this one, feel free to let me know. At this point I have all the units as well as their respective unlocks obtained, with my save file laying around on GameFAQs. So if you'd like me to cover a particular unit or make some sort of an introductory guide for this game sooner, I am once again directing your attention to the comment section. I'd like to give major props to the Japanese @wiki for this game for keeping tracks of unlock lists and documenting assorted weapon stats, which certainly helped out a lot while I was labbing things out and doing my usual share of due diligence. I will see you on the next one. This has been the Shirt Lad, signing out.